Good morning, everyone. My name is Juan Restrepo, and I am the Queens organizer for Transportation Alternatives. Behind me and surrounding us are what I would consider to be the large coalition of people who use this bridge every single day. And as we have seen, year over year, the amount of people who are crossing this bridge on foot, on bike, on weird unicycle thing, every form of transportation is starting to commute to Manhattan with new ways. And as we have crushing MTA issues with the L train, with the 7 train, with every train, we are starting to find that more people are opting into new ways to get around. But with those new ways of getting around, we are slowly starting to see that the infrastructure that we have built out for these new forms of transportation is no longer serving us. In Brooklyn, our brother borough, we have 2 bridges that give dedicated pathways for people to walk and bike over their respective bridges, the Williamsburg and the Manhattan Bridge. And here in Queens, we are left with the scraps of a single bridge that year over year continues to grow, and now we are having dangerous crashes, injuries happening on our bridge every single week. And our city continues to let our bridge live this way. And we say no. We say there needs to be a dramatic change. And I am happy to have Councilmember Jimmy Van Bramer here to state why he supports a more comprehensive solution for this bridge. Jimmy.
Thank you, Juan Restrepo. And thank you to all of these amazing people who are here. I just want to say I'm proud to be the council member. I'm proud to have biked to this press conference from my home in Sunnyside using the protected bike lanes on Skillman Avenue. Where when I stopped at a red light, that's right, where I stopped at a red light at 41st and Skillman, someone saw me, recognized me, even wearing my bike helmet, and said, "Thank you for these bike lanes, council member. It's a great thing that you did here." I am very proud of that. I also want to say I got here in 10 minutes from Sunnyside. As I looked at all of the car and truck traffic lined up all over these neighborhoods, I got here in 10 minutes so early that then I decided to bike the bridge myself. And what I saw is what all of these people experience so often, which is even on this rainy, gray, unusually cool day, there are traffic jams of bikers and walkers and scooters on the bridge. People who have decided that this madness is not the future, but actually getting to work and where you need to go on a bicycle or walking or on a scooter is actually better for them, better for the environment, and where we should all be headed as a society. So, how do we encourage that and make it even more safe and allow people to understand that biking to work or walking to work is actually a better alternative? It's the city making sure that there are policies in place and infrastructure in place that actually encourages this kind of behavior by making it safe. What I experienced on this bridge and what others are going to talk about is not safe. You cannot have thousands of people competing for a very narrow piece of land or bridge and making them dodge each other, even though everyone I saw was absolutely encouraging safety first. We know that there are crashes happening. We know that people's lives are being put at risk every day, that the DOT keeps us from having a dedicated and protected outer roadway for bicycles and for other modes of transportation like scooters, and then one for pedestrians. So we are calling, I am calling and fully supporting the Department of Transportation to right now, not in 2 or 3 years, but right now say that they agree with us and they are going to implement this plan, right? Where the northern outer roadway is for bicycles, it is a protected, dedicated space for bicycles, and then the southern outer roadway is for pedestrians. It is the right thing to do, and we should do it now. And we know that there's work going on the bridge, but now is the time for the DOT to make this an eventuality, not a possibility, not something they're going to look at, not something that they think about, but an eventuality that they plan for now so that we get this done as soon as possible. This is the future. Everyone talks about climate change, and rightfully so, right? We're very, very fortunate to have a Congresswoman who's been leading that charge nationally. But if you do not connect that and all of those cars and all of those trucks to the movement to save the planet, you are denying reality. And that is what this is also about. You cannot be an environmentalist. You cannot say that you are for the Green New Deal and for protecting this globe and then not be a part of this movement to make sure that fewer people are in cars and more people are on bicycles and walking to work. That is the bottom line. So I want to thank Transportation Alternatives for always leading the way, even when it's uncomfortable. And I want to thank the members of Community Board 2 and Community Board 1 who are here, all of whom I was very proud to recommend, I might add, and the residents of the Court Square Civic Association, including its president, Frank Wu. It is really, really important that the residents of Court Square are here also because they live here too, and they want and need and desperately deserve a more walkable and livable Court Square community. And I want to thank all of the folks who are here. So now, speaking of community board members, it was my honor and privilege to recommend this guy, the newest member of Community Board 2, along with Raz Yanutsis, who's here. Those two are brand new, but also a member of the Transportation Committee. Please welcome Jake DeGroot.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Juan. My name is Jake DeGroot. I am a member of CB2 here in Queens. I'm a member of the Transportation Committee of Community Board 2. I'm also a member of Transportation Alternatives. But today, I come speaking as myself, as an individual who lives in Sunnyside, who is a cyclist, who is a pedestrian. This bridge, unlike the bridges in Brooklyn that Juan mentioned, the Manhattan Bridge, the Williamsburg Bridge, is in inherently dangerous condition. There is no way to bike or walk over this bridge safely. No matter how hard we try to follow the guidelines, there's not enough space, right? If you're biking toward Manhattan, you're in between an oncoming lane of cyclists coming at you going toward Queens and a two-way lane of pedestrians going in both directions to your right. You're either drifting too far to one side or too far to the other side. It is scary. When I talk to my friends who want to start cycling, who want to start alleviating this traffic and alleviating the overcrowding on the MTA and on the 7 train, the reason they give for not cycling is it's too scary. Right, the bridge is too scary, and that's because we don't have infrastructure to support safe, secure, comfortable cycling over this bridge. We can change that. The bridge, as a piece of architecture and infrastructure, is perfectly designed for what we're trying to talk about. We have these two distinct outer roadways, which are just so well suited to these two distinct uses. On the north side, we can have wheeled vehicles, we can have cyclists, we can have scooters. On the south side, we can have pedestrians with a beautiful view of the Manhattan skyline, ready to take in as an asset for Queens neighborhoods and Queens residents. It's prescribed perfectly by the infrastructure we have. We just need to take advantage of it. As Jimmy said, this is a climate change issue. We are all doing our part by trying to decrease fossil fuel consumption, by biking to work every day over this bridge. We need the city to pitch in and do its part to support what we're trying to do, make this a greener, safer city and a greener, safer commute for all Queens residents and all New Yorkers. Thank you.
So as I said, we're thrilled to have a great and very active civic association here. We love Court Square. We're fighting for Court Square all the time. And joining us in that effort are several members of the Court Square Civic Association, including their dynamic, newish president, Frank Wu. Please welcome Frank Wu.
As local residents living in Court Square and LIC, we support this proposal for DOT to create a separate path for pedestrians and cyclists. Our neighborhood has grown in many ways that the city did not anticipate, and we are continuing to play catch up on key infrastructure such as schools. This is an opportunity for the city, and in particular DOT, to be more proactive versus reactive as the population density rises in the neighborhood and safety becomes a larger concern, and especially as more people use the bridge. Western Queens deserves a better pedestrian walkway on this bridge, and it's an easy win for New York City and Queens. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to introduce Laura Shepard, who is the communications coordinator for Bike New York. Laura, come on up.
Okay. Hi, my name is Laura Shepard and I work at Bike New York. We're trying to improve the bike network throughout the city because a network is only as strong as its weakest link, and for many, the bridge is a real deterrent from biking to work. But as the network throughout Queens has increased with safer Skillman and 43rd Avenues and Queens Boulevard, more people are choosing to bike to work, and that's a great thing. And more people are coming from more neighborhoods, from farther away. More people are using e-bikes and other mobility options to get to work, and we need to continue to encourage this growth, and we need more space to do it. We need more space to grow. In the last 5 years, cycling is up 35% on this bridge. 5,400 people a day use it to get to work. And meanwhile, the number of vehicle commuters over the bridge has declined. And that number is going to continue to decline as we implement congestion pricing. And what we need to do is we need to reinvest that spatial dividend in people who walk, bike, use transit, and get around in using sustainable means, so that we can tackle climate change and we can build a sustainable future for us and our children, and make sure that Queens residents have all these options. Thank you so much.
Before I want to introduce the next speaker, I just want to recognize Dom Stiller. We're in Court Square, but Dutch Kills, the amazing and wonderful Dutch Kills neighborhood that I also represent, is where Dom lives and raises his daughter, has a couple of businesses, but also serves on Community Board 1. So I want to just stress all of the support that we have from so many different neighborhoods and communities.
Unfortunately, this bridge really came back into the news cycle after a rather horrific crash happened, and today I asked if that person who was involved in that crash would come and speak, and he has. I would like to bring Joshua forward to recant one of the structural issues with how the bridge works right now. Thank you, Josh.
Hi, my name is Josh Harfield, and 3 weeks ago I was biking over this bridge and I crashed and broke my elbow and my collarbone, and the crash was pretty much unavoidable because of the design of the pathway. There's very little leeway for two-way cyclists and two-way pedestrians, and the room for error is very small. The crash happened when I was headed to Manhattan, and a bike was headed towards me, towards Queens, and there was a pedestrian also headed towards Manhattan. Each of us were in where we should be, in our respective lanes. I was where I should be in the bike lane. The oncoming bike was where he should be in his bike lane, and the pedestrian was where she should be. And she basically stepped 1 foot to the left, and there was nowhere for me to go, and I crashed. So because there's so little room for error and so little leeway, and because you have walkers and joggers and cyclists, and people are weaving in and out of each lane because there's not enough room in the bike lane for two bikes. There's not enough room in the pedestrian lane for walkers and joggers. So when you're going over the bridge, you're constantly zigzagging back and forth. And inevitably, if someone gets in the path of someone else, it's very likely that there's going to be a crash, and unfortunately, it can lead to injuries like mine. Thank you.
So beyond just the people that you see here, beyond the people you see today, over 2,000 people have signed a petition to have this bridge get a pedestrian walkway on the South Outer Roadway. And the interesting thing about this petition is oftentimes we have conflicts between pedestrians and bicyclists, where maybe one of them supports a project or the other one, but this is a universal campaign where we have the support of the biking community, the running community, and the walking community. And I would like to welcome one of the strongest advocates for being a pedestrian, who I would think is Barbara Prisco.
Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm Barbara Prisco. I live in Sunnyside, and I do love to walk. For years, I loved walking across this bridge twice a day to and from work, until witnessing too many accidents and near accidents between pedestrians and bicyclists made this walk something to dread rather than something I had always looked forward to. And it's the fault of neither the bikes nor the pedestrians. It's simply because there's not enough room on the roadway for both to pass through in each direction safely. The city is promoting bike use by installing miles of protected bike lanes, but one way to focus on people's safety, the bikes and the pedestrians, is to get the underutilized south outer roadway given over to pedestrian traffic. I and many pedestrians like me want our walk back. It's become unsafe, it's become unpleasant. The city wants to help promote our health by limiting processed meat in schools, by promoting Meatless Monday. This is one way right here to promote people's health, to keep them from getting knocked down on their butts on the roadway of the bridge. So everybody, start walking, start biking. Thank you.
And before we take Q&A, we're going to have one final speaker, Dominic Stiller, local business owner, Community Board 1 member, and all-around great guy. Dom.
So thanks, Dominic Stiller. Yes, I do own 2 businesses in the area, and I employ about 30 people, and it's a lot of fun. But as I stand here and watch all these people make such important points, I can't help but watching so many single occupants in these cars coming into the city. So this implementation of infrastructure to widen the northbound lane it's just needed. And I can't help but think that once this southbound lane is implemented as a pedestrian walkway, it brings me visions and thoughts of the High Line. I think that this idea is an idea that will make Queens great. I think we all need to keep New York great. It doesn't happen by itself, but decisions and changes and implementations like this are important triggers in keeping this city great. We need this, so anything we can do to bring it about is really appreciated locally and citywide and countrywide. Thanks.
So guys on the other end, thank you so much for coming. I think that is the formal end of the interview. Are there any questions you guys have regarding this or anything else?
Do you know the number of how many people get injured on the span?
So because the bridge is in this sort of nebulous space where it's not part of one district or the other, there's no real formal documentation of how many crashes are happening, but our organization has an incident reporter, I guess you would call it, because we're trying to fill that gap of where there's a lack of reporting, where you only hear of maybe Josh's story or the occasional story, but there are many more crashes that are happening. We've documented around 20 or so fully detailed crashes of truly harrowing experiences, and I wish I could give you something more concrete, but the Department of Transportation unfortunately doesn't, or the NYPD don't collect that information.
Can I just say something on that though? But I just want to say good public policy isn't about just responding to crashes and people getting seriously injured and getting killed. It's about knowing there's something that's dangerous and then taking proactive measure to make sure that people don't get killed and don't get injured. And that's what we see here. When I was on the bike on the bridge just a few minutes ago, I saw 3 young people who I assumed to be high school students walking from Manhattan to Queens, 3 abreast. They were just being high school kids talking, and I loved that they were walking over the bridge, but that made it incredibly hard for people to pass them safely. And so if we know that there are dozens, if not hundreds, of near misses or potential crashes, then we should be acting now, not waiting to count statistics, but actually knowing that there's something very dangerous happening here right now today that could be fixed if there was the political will to do so at very high levels in the city.
We also know that the population of Western Queens is increasing. New buildings are going up every month, every year, and we need safe, sustainable ways to accommodate the influx of new residents.
Any more questions?
What's that?
Can you do it again for NBC?
The entire thing, word for word.
The one-on-one?
Yeah, no worries. We're good.
When do you plan on having this or if they started, when are you going to
you want to talk about the timeline on the DOT?
I guess what's the next step for you guys? Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sorry, the next step for what exactly?
The next step is after today. Do you guys have any other plans to keep this going? I mean, any specific plans?
It depends on how strongly we need to send the message. You know, changing a bridge is a very, very big, laborious process, and it requires a lot of moving pieces in the city. The press conference is a very effective tool, but you know, we also do lots of other tools, I guess you would say, if we need to send the message more loudly. And then a lot of times we come out during summer streets when I think we see the absolute worst of this bridge, which is ironic because everybody wants to go to a car-free Manhattan and walk and bike on these streets, and the insanity that is that bridge on this day. We literally set up over here collecting petitions. We have collected close to 300, 400, 500 petitions on certain days because people literally walk over this bridge and they're like, I don't want to sign that. They come back and they're like, where's that piece of paper? You know? So, you know, we've got our bread and butter stuff, and we'll do some more, and hopefully we can get some more elected officials to support this as well. There's another side of this bridge where I think Manhattan needs to also have their voices made heard as well.
I just want to say, this is an organizing campaign. All the people behind me are organizers, and they know how to organize and inspire people in government to do better. We're calling on the mayor and the Department of Transportation to publicly say that they support this and they're going to actually implement this plan. So I think keeping up the pressure and keeping up the organizing and making sure that we're talking about this and bringing it to the forefront of the public debate is important. This is an important first step, but we're going to keep putting pressure on the mayor and the DOT to not simply say that they're thinking about it, right? Someone else said it before, we have so many campaigns aimed at public safety and wellness in the city, and that's all good, but look at the amount of people that are biking over this bridge right now on a rainy morning. How could we not address this if we're serious about wellness and keeping people healthy in the city of New York? All right, good. Yeah. All right, thank you everyone, right?